Welcome back to wagertalk.com. We're talking Golden Nugget, Game of the Year, opening lines. Guys, this has been a big event in Vegas for several years now. Last year, for the first time, another casino in town, South Point, brought lines out before the Golden Nugget. Golden Nugget was always the first, and we saw a little bit of effect last year with that because the market got to get massaged a little bit from the guys hitting the South Point numbers. Did you see that again this year with the Golden Nugget openers?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you have, I think it was about a month to see where the market goes and you get that information, and on top of it, I think South Point released all their season win totals for every team, and you can use those moves, and incorporate those into your data, meaning the Golden Nugget, when they're releasing games of the year in case they're doing different matchups than what South Point released for games of the year. So, to be honest, that's why I didn't even bother going to the Nugget. I figured they were going to be pretty efficient openers. I had bet a lot of the South Point ones earlier. And, sure enough, I had, some people know Matt Lindemann, who's been on my podcast that I do. He ran through quick just to look, and he said there was maybe 5 or 6 games he would have bet, and 3 of them were Notre Dame games. So he said maybe in general the Nugget was too low on Notre Dame, undervaluing Notre Dame. Other than that, it was basically, they were pretty good numbers. So that's what you'd expect from an odds maker or a bookmaker that has a month to see, pretty sharp guys here in Vegas betting into games of the year from another location.
Yeah, and another point, which we talked about in just the last video, one of the major publications is out as well. Phil Still's publication hit the streets last week too. So they got to have that in time too to, maybe if they had some questions on some teams that they were wavering a little bit on just how strong they liked that team, they have another source to, confirm or deny what they were thinking. And what were your findings, Brian?
Yeah, I actually went into it and I was surprised. I just assumed they were going to copy most of the games. They had the same. There were some games that were 4, 5, 6 points off. You could have middled them if you wanted to. But I did find that the Golden Nugget numbers were much closer to my numbers. And I was there with a couple other guys, Ralph from our company and Brad from another, and we all thought that the lines were pretty tight with what we had. I did find a couple of games. They had UCLA rated a little bit higher than what I would, so I went against UCLA in one game. And then this was right after the news of West Virginia getting the Florida transfer at quarterback, and I thought the West Virginia lines there were a little bit cheap, so I got a West Virginia bet in. But when you compare the lines from the first two, I was a little bit surprised they weren't copying as much. And it's funny because I've got utmost respect for both of them, Tony and Chris. And the guy that puts them out first is really taking in all the action because it's the only one. You're going one-on-one. Now, once you get the second one in there and say, okay, well, I should have, and this is what I was thinking. I knew I was on the right side of this one, or I should have bet this one, and I didn't. And I think there was a lot of people thinking that same way.
Yeah. Do you think that this is going to start a little competition here in Vegas, that they would move theirs up?
If it does, it's better for us.
Sure. I mean, earlier the better, right?
Yeah.
As long as we're prepared. I know last year I was taken off guard. I was 2 days, I think Chris was like, hey, we're putting up the games of the year. And so I just didn't sleep for 48 hours.
I was out of town at that time.
You were gone.
What?
But I mean, going forward, if Golden Nugget wanted to do theirs early May or even April, right? So sure. I mean, we'll take it on. I think that would be fun. Good, I guess, fighting war between the books, and it's good for the bettors too. So
maybe we can get some of the other sports books in town to get into this.
Well, it'll be interesting to see for sure. Was there any other teams that you guys noticed any bias one way or the other from the Golden Nugget? Even if you saw a big movement from what you saw at South Point adjustment-wise.
Well, they had Penn State more in line on what I think we had Penn State. Whereas Chris has talked about it, how much he likes Penn State. Now, the Penn State money was taken against money, so it makes a lot of sense. Everybody going against Chris's number at the Penn State. So it was more, like I said, it was more in line with what the people I had talked to had their numbers. And, he had an extra month to do it. And he was able to catch the line moves from the other place. So he did it exactly the way he should.
Any other bets that you made?
I only made the 2 there. But then, when you look back, I should have made a lot more at South Point. But, that's when you're going up against one-on-one, you don't have that actual confirmation. Like if I was to talk to Cheetah and we were both on the same side. So you didn't have that confirmation, when it's only one-on-one. But it's
And like you mentioned with Phil Steele magazine coming out, I mean, that helps the bettors too. So, I mean, yeah, you wish you would have bet more at South Point, but you didn't have that confirmation. Then when Steele's magazine comes out, you do, but then so does the Nugget before they release their line. So in general, the market's just going to be a lot more efficient with more information out. And, down the road, maybe the Nugget does open sooner than they have, recently. But for now, it's really the South Point openers as far as me getting my money down.
Yeah, the Golden Nuggets always done it basically around this particular time, which happens to also coincide with about the week after Phil Steele brings his out too.
And it does. And I told him, I said, because in the past he said, I thought we might get some more people in here. I said, well, you've got to realize a lot of people in our industry take their vacations during the baseball season. Right. It's a lot easier to handicap 30 teams as it is college basketball, whatever. So a lot of people are out of town. Now, the good thing it does, as you pointed out, every year it's the same time. So we know, for example, it's going to come out at that time. But like last year with the Chris over there at South Point, nobody knew it was coming out.
And this year, I think he did it on Memorial Day. Which, was a strange day to do it.
It's a little bit strange. I'm glad they did it. But without knowing exactly when they're coming out, you're not going to get as many people in town to bet it.
All right, good stuff, guys. Don't forget, if you want to pick up a 3-day package, you can pick your favorite capper and get 3 consecutive days anytime. You can start it on a Monday, you can start it on a Thursday, get 3 consecutive days, just $49. That's all plays that particular capper releases over that 3-day period, and would include any 5% plays as well. Check it out. It's the 3-day all access at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with more here at wagertalk.com.